Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Hard Count podcast. And today, I'm going to give you guys my Week 7 Superior 10. It was a very interesting week for this list. As many of you guys know, we had some very big upsets. Some of our top teams fell to unexpected teams. So we might have some shakeups. We'll see. But starting at number 10, the Jacksonville Jaguars, something that did not change. They've won 3 games in a row. They had a nice win against the Indianapolis Colts this weekend. And I just think this is a very solid team. I think this is a playoff team in the AFC. Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback. I've been saying that for weeks. And, Evan Engram, he's been a surprising player for this team. 7 receptions in this win against the Colts, which is very nice. And Christian Kirk has been very, very solid all year long. We kind of expected Calvin Ridley to be more in a dominant role, but Christian Kirk has done a ton for this passing game as well. And when Zay Jones is out there too, I know he's been battling some injuries. When he's out there, there's just so many weapons on this offense for Trevor Lawrence to get the ball to. Not to mention Travis Etienne, who leads the NFL for running backs in touches per game. So I know fantasy managers out there are happy with that. But, he's been able to get the ball in the receiving game, and they've been able to get the ball moving on the ground pretty nicely. So 37-20 versus the Colts, very nice job. Obviously, backup quarterback, but they were still able to force 3 interceptions on Gardner Minshew and really do a nice job against a rushing attack that has been pretty successful throughout the season. So I like what I've seen from the Jaguars. It was a big game this past week against the Colts, a nice in-division win. And we see them on Thursday night. We see them tomorrow on the road against the Saints. We'll see. Maybe they can make it 4 in a row. That would be huge for them, especially in the division race and in the AFC playoff picture. But yeah, Jaguars at 10. Not too much else to say. Then at number 9, I've got the Cleveland Browns, a team that has kind of been hovering here at the bottom of my top 10 for a few weeks now. I dropped them out at one point, but, huge win against the 49ers this week. And, I want to move them up more, but I kind of knew we could see this kind of come out of the Browns. This is a team that could match the 49ers physically. They've got a lot of really, Myles Garrett. They've got a great offensive line. They can kind of push around the 49ers a little bit and disrupt what they want to do, which is push you around and have Brock Purdy distribute, have him have time to throw, get the ball out to an array of weapons. And the Browns were able to kind of slow that down. Brock Purdy didn't have a great week, and I think a lot of that was because the Browns were able to get pressure. And again, they just could kind of match the physicality. Now, I think that's kind of what the Browns are. I mean, I've said this is the best defense in the NFL, and I stick by that. And it's going to come down to, can the offense make enough plays? The Deshaun Watson situation is very interesting to me. I don't really know what is going on with that. When will Deshaun Watson be back? What is he going to look like when he's back? Because last time he played, he did look great. But if he's not back, then this offense is shaky. I mean, they put up 3 points against the Ravens. Now, they were able to get the job done enough in this 49ers game, but how sustainable is that? So I guess we'll see with the Browns. Deshaun Watson's something to look at, keep an eye on. But, huge win against the 49ers. This really keeps them in the AFC playoff race. I think while Watson is out, they can't afford to fall too far behind. But yeah, best defense in the league, in my opinion. Huge win against the 49ers. Showed a lot of great things. We know Myles Garrett's great. We know this defense is great on the back end as well. So Browns at 9 here. They kind of showed me why I have been keeping them in the top 10 and why I've had so much faith in them when other people were questioning them. So Browns there at 9. And then at number 8, I've got the Dallas Cowboys, who they had a nice win against the Chargers. There's nothing too much to say there. They actually drop a spot, but that's not really at their own fault. I think Dak had a great game. He was able to kind of extend plays. One thing I've said about Dak, when structure breaks down, he kind of tends to struggle a little bit, but he was able to make some really nice throws. when things weren't really working around him all the time. But overall, I wasn't super impressed with what I saw from the Cowboys. I mean, I do think the defense is going to continue to do its thing. I think it is a top 5 unit. Again, I've said Micah Parsons. I think he might be the best defensive player in the NFL. And I don't think that the injury to Diggs on the back end has really hurt them all too much. I still think this is a very good defense. Now, offensively, it's a very inefficient rushing attack. I've talked about Tony Pollard's inefficiencies, and they still really weren't even able to get the ball moving on the ground that well this weekend outside of a big run from Dak. And, I mean, Tony Pollard only really was averaging 2 yards per carry against one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL, which is not good. So there's just not... something feels off about the Cowboys to me. Now, Dak had a good game. They got the win against a Chargers team that I believe is fringe top 10. But, it's not the dominant performance I want to see. It's not the well-rounded Cowboys performance that I totally wanted to see. But it was still a good game. I think, the Cowboys came out with the win. That's all you can ask for. And I still think this is a playoff team in the NFC. Maybe not quite the top team or one of the top teams I thought they were just a couple weeks ago. So Cowboys at 8, and then at number 7, I've got the Detroit Lions, who are the reason the Cowboys actually dropped down despite the win. I think this Lions team is semi-legit. Now, am I going to be the guy that's saying number 1 team, number 2 team? No. I just don't think I've seen it all quite yet from the Lions. But am I saying playoff team? Potentially, if things continue to go well, a team that could compete with the Eagles, the 49ers. Yes, that is what I'm saying. I'm excited to see them play the Ravens this weekend. I think that'll be a very telling game. But Jared Goff has been phenomenal. I don't think he is like a top 3, 5, 10 even quarterback in the NFL, but he's been getting the job done. I mean, this Lions offensive line has been phenomenal this season. And, Amon-Ra, they got Jameson Williams back. We've seen him with some splash plays. It's an exciting offense, and I kind of knew it would be. I talked about the addition of Jameson Williams and what that brings a couple of weeks ago. And I think it's all coming to fruition here. And, one thing that I look at, and a lot of people are looking at right now as very promising, is the Lions defense. I mean, we saw them hold the Buccaneers to 6 points this past weekend, and statistically, the Lions have been up there in all of the defensive categories. Now, I do have my doubts. It definitely helps when the last 4 quarterbacks you've played are Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young, Jordan Love, and Desmond Ridder. And the last time you played a semi-legit quarterback in Geno Smith in week 2, you allowed 37 points. But still, the Lions defense is performing. Aiden Hutchinson has been great. And they're getting after the quarterback. They're forcing bad decisions. And that's what, with such a good offense that the Lions have, such a consistent receiving game and a rushing game that has surprised me this season. It's a very formidable, solid, all-around team. Again, I'm excited to see what they can do against the Ravens, against a real solid, or one of the NFL's best quarterbacks in Lamar Jackson. But the Lions have been impressive. Now, I'm not ready to put them all the way up there in Tier 1, but they could definitely prove me wrong and make their way up their rankings in the next couple weeks. So, Lions move up at 7. I'm starting to believe the hype. And then at number 6, I've got the Baltimore Ravens. We were just talking about them a little bit because they are playing the Detroit Lions. I think the Ravens have been at number 6 for weeks now. And I feel like they kind of have hovered around here. They haven't really broken to the top tier of teams, but I still think they are a very, very good team. Lamar Jackson has been phenomenal. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this season. And, it was a solid win against the Titans. I think London has proved to be a bit weird for some teams, and the Ravens handled it pretty well. Now, it wasn't a beautiful game, perfect game by any means, but this defense is legit. Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen has been a fantastic linebacker duo for them this year. Geno Stone has stepped up in a big way on the back end with, Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton back there. But, I think it'll continue to help as this defense gets healthy as well. Getting Ojabo away back will definitely help with that pass rush rotation. But Clowney has been a fantastic addition. And on offense, everyone freaked out about the drops. Everyone freaked out about the receivers last week. And there were no drops this week. And there has not been a single drop in any other game outside of the game against the Steelers. So I think it might have just been a 1 week thing. I think Zay Flowers is phenomenal. One of the best rookies this season for sure, and is what this Ravens offense has really needed. So big game against the Lions this week, but this Ravens team is very, very good. I'm curious to see what they can do against the Lions. If they can really assert themselves as dominant, they can continue to move up into that top tier. But we'll see. Ravens here at 6. And then at number 5, I've got the Philadelphia Eagles with a very disappointing loss this past weekend to the New York Jets. It was the first time in Eagles franchise history, actually, that they lost the Jets. I believe they're 1-19 now against the Eagles. But it was just a really shaky overall performance. I've been saying it's something to monitor over the past couple of weeks, and it just happened once again. Jalen Hurts, very disappointing performance. I think he's kind of somewhere in between what he was last year and what he was 2 years ago. He hasn't been the same guy he was last year. He hasn't been the same guy taking care of the ball, distributing the ball, operating this Eagles offense with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, distributing it evenly. He's been a little more shaky. And for this Eagles offense to work, that's just simply not okay. Now, do I think he can return to last year's form? Absolutely. But if he keeps playing like he is, turning the ball over, it doesn't matter what else is around him. It doesn't matter how well the Eagles offensive line is protecting him if he's forcing sacks, if he's forcing turnovers. Now, I still think his team is very good. I still think if Hurts is operating at a high level, this is a Super Bowl winning team. And, I think they need to just kick it into gear a little bit more. This defense is very good in all regards. This offense is very good in all regards. I've talked about it, the best offensive line in football, one of the best young receivers, or two of the best young receivers in football, even though Devontae Smith hasn't really been getting the ball the past couple weeks. But Eagles are a very good team. I think I am a little more skeptical now about them because of the Jalen Hurts situation. But it's just a team to keep watching. I know they kind of had some close wins against teams that they shouldn't have had close wins against, and now a loss to the Jets. I know it happens, but still something to look at. And they've got a huge game this weekend against the Miami Dolphins. This to me will tell me a lot about the Jalen Hurts we're dealing with, the defense we're dealing with, and the rushing game we're dealing with. I actually do think the Eagles are in a very good spot considering this offense, when they're able to get the ball moving on the ground with DeAndre Swift, with Jalen Hurts, is a lot more effective, and they're facing off against a Dolphins team who struggles stopping the run. So I think a confidence booster could be in store this week for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts get back on track. But from what I've seen these past couple weeks, I have my question marks. And putting up 14 against the Jets, losing to Zach Wilson, never a good thing. So the Eagles, to me, still a very good team, a 5-1 team, a team that can win the Super Bowl. But I drop them down here a little bit, and I am a little bit more skeptical going forward. So then, at number 4, a team that finally cracks my top 4, the Miami Dolphins, who, they've been extremely impressive in all facets. I think this is the best offense in the NFL. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, just so much speed, and Tua has been doing a fantastic job in this Mike McDaniel system. I am starting to become more and more of a believer in Tua and what he can do for this Dolphins offense. I do think that there aren't many guys that could be doing what he could be doing in this system at the level that he is doing it. And it's just been a really fun team to watch. every week in, week out, they seem to be putting up a lot of points, doing what they need to do. I mean, a big win against the Panthers, 42-21. Just a lot of teams can't keep up. Now, the Bills game is definitely interesting as they got dominated on a lot of fronts, but I think a lot of that just happened. They ran into Josh Allen on a very good day. The Bills team is very good. But this Dolphins team, I'm not too worried about it. Again, they've got a massive game against the Eagles this weekend. That'll tell me a lot about the Dolphins. Are they going to get physically pushed around again by another top team? Or are they going to, in a shootout, be able to keep up with the Eagles, force the Eagles to do things that make turnovers like Jalen Hurts has done in the past couple of games, be able to slow down the run, as I talked about, which I think is their biggest weakness, against a team that, when they get the ball moving on the ground, is extremely effective. That's what we have to look out for in this Dolphins game against the Eagles, but super fun team, well-coached team, one of the best coached teams in the league, a well-quarterbacked team as well, and a team with some of the most explosive players in football, the best receiver in football. So, Dolphins at 4. Very excited to see what we get this weekend. Sunday Night Football against the Eagles. Then at number 3, I've got the Buffalo Bills, who had a very interesting game this week in a very close game against the New York Giants. I don't really know what to make of this Bills team, because it kind of feels like half of the time Josh Allen is just the greatest thing since sliced bread and this team is unbeatable, and half of the time you just don't know what's going on. And I really don't know what to think of that. I mean, this team was a Saquon Barkley rush up the middle from losing to a 1-5 Giants team and a Tyrod Taylor-led Giants team. Now, I don't think that this is as simple as just sometimes the Bills are good and sometimes they're not. I think there are reasons for every loss or every difficulty they've had. I mean, London, the trip to London, and then playing the Jaguars there, who had been there already for a week, and then coming back immediately from London. Josh Allen's playing against a Brian Daboll team who was his offensive coordinator for years, knows Josh Allen all too well. There's reasons, but still, I still think this Bills offense, there's question marks. I mean, Josh Allen, he's a freak most of the time. Stephon Diggs, one of the league's best receivers. Now, can this offense protect Josh Allen? Can they run the ball effectively? Those are the question marks. And can they have a good game plan week in, week out? Those are the question marks. Now, I think they can. This team is still a very, very good team, and I think a team that no one wants to play later in the season. No one wants to play them in the playoffs. No one wants to play Josh Allen. And I think this defense is extremely good. But this offense just has its ups and its downs, and I think we'll figure out if that's going to continue or if that's just a week-to-week thing with the excuses that I've been giving them. So I don't fully know what's up with the Bills, but they should have lost to the Giants and been a 3-3 football team. But I still have belief in Josh Allen. I still have belief in this defense. And for that reason, they're 3. And I don't think I can move them below a Dolphins team or an Eagles team that I just talked about. So Bills at 3. And then at number 2, I've got the Kansas City Chiefs, who every week I feel like I speak the least about. And I think I might do that just again. I mean, they had a win on Thursday night against the Broncos, 19-8. Nothing too special. And I feel like that's kind of been the theme of things for the Chiefs. Quietly, they've won 5 games in a row. It hasn't been special, but this team could easily be 6-0. So, I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce. What more do I need to say? I mean, the best player in the NFL, maybe the best player in history, teamed up with one of the NFL's best head coaches and offensive minds, with one of the best tight ends in the NFL. The Chiefs are going to win games. I feel like they haven't even hit their full stride yet. I mean, Rashee Rice is stepping up, but Pacheco's getting back into things. I feel like this team, the sky is the limit, as it always is, and it's a team that you just simply do not want to play in the postseason. So this team's won 5 games in a row, and I think that streak could continue. They've got some in-division games until they play the Dolphins in a few weeks, and then the Eagles, which is going to be a very fun streak of games to see what this Chiefs team is really made of. But for now, I see no reason to not have them here, basically at the top. So, again, not too much to say about the Chiefs, but the fact that it's the Chiefs. And then at number 1, I'm keeping the San Francisco 49ers. I know they lost this week, but I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Teams lose in the NFL. There's not an undefeated team left in the league. And if there's a time you're going to lose, it's going to be on Sunday against a team that can kind of match your physicality. Maybe one of the only teams in the NFL in the Cleveland Browns in a poor conditions game against the best defense that can kind of, match your physicality along with these injuries that are kind of throwing you off. It's just a classic game that you lose. And yes, it's not great, it's not pretty, but I can't fault the 49ers too much for it against the top 10 team. I'm curious to see what these injuries are going to look like. I mean, Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, all very vital parts of this offense. So I'm curious to see what this team is going to look like without them. But all of those injuries are believed to not be long-term, which is very good. So this is still one of the best defenses in football. They're going to push almost any team in the league around. Yes, Brock Purdy had an off game, but am I worried? No, he's going to be fine in the Shanahan system. I still think this team is the favorite in the NFC, maybe to win it all. They're my number 1 team. I'd pick them over any team in the league next week. And that's that. The 49ers are the best team in football still. I know it was a loss, but every team loses. So 49ers at 1, which rounds out my superior 10 after a week of big games. I know there wasn't too much movement, but there could be in these coming weeks, so stay tuned. So thank you guys so much for listening, watching, and until next time, as always, peace.